I'd like to call our regularly scheduled meeting for October 21st, 2013 to order. If you would all please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Alderman Harper. Alderman Nguyen.
Here.
Alderman Robertson.
Here.
Alderman Kramer.
Present.
Alderman Toohey.
Here.
Alderman Leahy.
Here.
Alderman Manister. Alderman Saunders.
Here.
Thank you. And for the record, Alderman Harper did send a message this morning to me that he was not feeling well. He was going to try to be here, but evidently he's not recuperated yet. So,
Alderwoman Manister, she needed to attend a conference tonight. You know, her son has a rare condition, and someone, one of the doctors that is innovative in the treatment is going to be doing a presentation.
okay. Next item, approval of the agenda for the regular Board of Alderman meeting, September 21st, 2013. Any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Your Honor.
First and second to approve the agenda as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Consideration approval of the minutes from the regular Board of Alderman meeting from October 7th, 2013. Any changes? Alderman Leahy.
If we can all turn to page 3 of the minutes, please. The bottom third of the page, where there is a roll call vote, it actually ends up as a tie on a motion. The motion was my motion to request that the city entertain allowing a 60-day period of time by the food trucks at no fee so that they could evaluate whether or not they could find areas in Brentwood that would justify establishing a service, and then hopefully establishing a fee of $150 for the usage, or a permit fee for the service in the city of Brentwood. In the meeting, it was misinterpreted that the motion failed, but it's a 4-4 tie. So, Your Honor, you have to break the tie.
Well, I would like to verify that first to
Right.
make sure on the record that that's actually what transpired. I would think that we would have not missed that.
It is. That's correct. The way, yeah, it is correct that the motion was tied.
It was a
at
tie.
that time, right.
Okay. Then what I would suggest is that either let's correct that in the minutes, and let's have a new motion tonight in order to do that. I don't want to vote on a past motion that's already been, even though it's incorrect. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so leave this as it is, and when we
Right.
get to the bill, we'll put it back out in front of us?
Yes.
Okay,
Does that sound okay?
I will agree to that.
Okay.
We don't have to correct the minutes.
But we'll amend it as motion.
Well, I would amend the minutes to reflect the vote that actually took place,
Right.
if you could do that, okay?
A motion to that effect?
And we will make, yes.
Yeah.
And so a motion for the change to correct the minutes,
So moved.
and second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Now can I have a motion to accept the minutes as, oh,
I
I'm
have
sorry.
no other changes. Does anyone else?
Right.
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you. And second?
Second.
Your Honor.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, presentation, Planning Design Studios, and this is for our park system master plan. Eric, would you give an introduction, please?
Good evening. As you know, the Parks and Recreation Department received a grant from the Municipal Park Grant Commission to do an initial assessment of the park system master plan. We have contracted with a planning design studio to do that additional assessment. And part of that assessment is to come here tonight and give their presentation to the Board of Aldermen. So I'd like to present, or I'd like to introduce Andy Franke with Planning Design Studio and have him give his presentation.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you very much, Board of Aldermen. A little bit of background on the project. The last Parks Master Plan was completed in 1992. The initial assessment was conceived as sort of a jump start for a broader, larger master plan process. As Eric said, it was funded by the municipal park grant. 80% of it was funded. And as part of this process, we established a working committee, the idea being that the working committee would help us get the initial assessment kicked off and then follow through with the master plan process. So we'd have one continuous point of contact with the city all the way through the process. So why an initial assessment? The idea is that we would identify gaps or needs in the community's park system and propose some initial solutions that would create the basis for the future community-wide park plan. It was envisioned as a two-part process, the first part being the initial assessment that we're here tonight to talk about, and then the second phase being the full park and recreation master plan. What we did for that initial assessment was we had a project kickoff meeting where we worked with our newly formed working committee. We gathered some project background data. We had community meeting number 1. We then drafted some initial assessment of what we heard from the community as far as emerging needs and solutions. We then presented that to the city for review, and then we went back to the community and presented our results, got some input, and then we're here tonight to present what we found. So just as an overview, and I apologize for the map being kind of hard to read, you might have it in your handout. This is the existing city of Brentwood, and then the parks. The parks are laid out, bless you, throughout the system. And one thing that you can tell real quick, if the parks are generally dark green and the city of Brentwood is light green, in the northwest corner there really aren't any parks per se, but there is a larger green space immediately west, which is Tillis Park. So it's thought that Tillis takes a little bit of that load from that part of the city. Otherwise, the parks are fairly evenly distributed. We didn't really look at individual parks per se. We got oriented to them, and that's about it. That's really what the next part of the process will be. So just as a little bit of a review, we had a public meeting really at the end of June, and that was the initial meeting to get public input as to what the community thought that they needed. We didn't really present any findings because we didn't survey the parks or anything like that. We just gave a broad overview, much like we did here tonight. Only we did show each park. A lot of people weren't aware of all the parks that are available in Brentwood, so that was kind of enlightening for some people. We had about 20 people attend. What we did is we broke those 20 people down into 4 groups, and we had what's called a blue sky session where we had a series of questions and we asked people what they thought about various things they needed, things that weren't working well, and what their priorities would be for improvements. After, and each group worked for about a half an hour to 45 minutes on that. You can see a picture of one of these groups working. Each group then presented their findings to the larger group, and then we put them all on the wall, and at the end of the meeting, everybody was given 4 green dots, and they were able to put green dots by the things that they liked the most. It's not real scientific, but at the end of the day, you can kind of see where people's thoughts were. And so we had a kind of initial green dot priority. And this is the results of that. And again, I apologize for this being kind of hard to read. But at the top of the list was skate park with 18 votes. Dog park was next, additional landscape planting. And I'll just go through the list. Splash pad, improved trail, which would be a combination of connection, surfacing, or just general maintenance. Then improved overall park maintenance, outdoor fitness equipment, restroom facilities, either additional facilities or just improve the ones that are there, leisure ice skating, bicycle racks, drinking fountains, increased security, interpretive educational signage, more organized events, park system education awareness, ADA compliant amenities, an all-inclusive playground, fire pit seating, and then trash receptacles / recycling receptacles. We then asked people, as part of that, they voted on kind of what they would like to see prioritized first. Skate park turned up very high. Landscape plantings next, dog park, improved trail, splash pad, bicycle racks, improved restroom facilities, ADA compliant amenities, improve park maintenance and play equipment. And I should point out at this meeting, 20 isn't a very large group. Usually we like to have a lot larger group. And we had a very strong contingent of skaters show up. And they were very polite, and it's great to see that. I mean, and we see that quite often. In fact, out in O'Fallon, Missouri, we went through this process, the full-blown process. Same thing happened, and they worked through the entire process very professionally, and there's a skate park out there now because of that. So the process does work, but this is one of the things that happens when you do an initial assessment, and it makes you realize, okay, we just can't do an initial assessment. We got to kind of go out broader to make sure that we got everybody covered. And part of that broader process is really having individual stakeholder meetings where you schedule them over a 1 or 2 day period. You organize different groups that use the parks by their recreation needs and interview them so they have an equal say in that. Because they probably, they might not have attended or had been busy or something like that. So that's what happened there. That's why skate park is at the top of the list. So just a little brief summary for you guys about what was included in the initial assessment. And the initial assessment's out on the website for you to review. And I will sound a little bit like a broken record, but it's kind of the same stuff. Additional parkland in the north portion of the city, the need for both a skate park and a dog park, the need for additional facilities like a splash pad and outdoor fitness equipment, improved park maintenance, improved and or additional restroom facilities, and improvements to the trail system. And as a side note, the city of Brentwood has a very nice trail system on its east side. It was way ahead of its time in implementing that, and it's in a really good position to connect up on the south part of the city to the GRG projects that are going to be knocking on your door. So the city's very well positioned in that respect. Some of the identified community priorities: skate park, additional landscaping, dog park, trail improvements, splash pad, bike racks, improved restroom facilities, ADA compliant amenities, improved park maintenance, and new play equipment. So some initial solutions were to continually identify opportunities to improve the to improve the system-wide connectivity to all parks. In other words, look for opportunities to build more trails to connect the parks together. And that really dovetailed well with the comprehensive plan, which said Brentwood wanted to continue to be a community that was pedestrian-oriented, had sidewalks, and people could walk and do things like that. Add the skate park and the dog park and the splash pad. Seek additional parkland in the northwest portion of the city. And I'll stop for a minute. That might seem kind of wild in a city like Brentwood that's completely developed. But we did a similar thing in Kirkwood when we did a master plan there, and we recommended 4 new parks, and they've built 4 new parks. When this was identified in the plan, some people came forward, donated land or sold it at a good price to the city, and they were able to add 4 neighborhood parks in basically well-established parts of the city. So it can be done, and that's why we put things like this in plans, especially in established communities. The other initial solutions were add outdoor fitness equipment to one of the existing parks. That's kind of a new trend, where people go to boot camp, and instead of always staying in a community center, they actually go outside and run a circuit and do it on exercise equipment that's very similar to what would be inside of a building. It's not just the old wood sit-up bars and chin-up bars. It's actually almost weight machines and things like that are outside. They're designed for that specific purpose. Improve existing trail system based on the results of a comprehensive evaluation. In other words, go through the whole trail system and evaluate it, and replace outdated and non-ADA compliant playground equipment. Add an inclusion playground into the park system. Systematically improve the outdated restroom facilities. Replenish the urban forest within the park system. There's a lot of mature trees, but now's the time to start planting new ones so that when the old ones die, the new ones are there ready to replace them. Like almost all other park systems in the St. Louis area, develop a program to remove bush honeysuckle. It's taking over every park everywhere, and it's even taken over my house. So, and I can't get rid of it. I wish if I would invent a chemical to get rid of that stuff, I wouldn't be here in front of you tonight. extend Shady Creek and Deer Creek greenways into Brentwood, and having a plan like this and the future plan really helps you guys in that position as well. Update park furnishings with consistent and new equipment throughout, and implement security improvements at all parks, including lighting and security call boxes. A lot of times those call boxes now are cellular and they're solar powered, so there's not a lot of infrastructure to put those in. So what are the next steps? There's our friend the skate park again. Identify potential sites for that, and again, that's why this initial assessment's really good, so that when we start the next phase, we can go out there and start to identify potential sites. We know that up front already, and we can be looking for it immediately. Some key site considerations are to size it correctly based on the program of how big it should be and how many people will use it. Generally, you look for a flat terrain. You'll make all the hilly things for them to use. And usually you like to locate that near the user so they can walk there and they don't have to be driven. And typically you find these in residential areas or near the parks. Dog park is very similar. Size it appropriately. Really the only addition here is that you might want to look for the ability to buffer from surrounding uses. You want to be real consistent and cognizant of what those surrounding land uses are and that it's compatible. Identify potential sites for a splash pad. One of the items here that we heard is don't consume green space for a splash pad. See if you can find an already paved area to use for that, or take it out and put it back in rather than just put it in new green space. But generally these are flat because they have to be ADA compliant, and again they're usually located near walking distance to where people live, and they're compatible with the surrounding land use. From a trail system, develop a prioritized list by analyzing the entire system. And there's some flood buyout property at the 416 Hanley Industrial Court that'll dovetail right nicely into the system, and so we'd want to incorporate that in as well, maybe an entryway with some other facilities. The next thing is ADA. Everybody's talking about ADA, and the idea here is to update the current report and develop a list of what's needed, and eventually try and prioritize that into a 5 to 7 year plan, so that eventually it does get done, and we're not just continually chasing our tail to get it done, but develop a plan and prioritize it. One of the other things that this is recommending is improving online and printed maps of the park system. There's already kind of an overall park map, but the idea is to help people know more about all the individual parks, is to print maps available online or even printed, that people could get additional knowledge on this. And because 99% of us carry a phone, and I don't know what the percentage is that they're smartphones, apps would be the next thing, where somebody could go to the city of Brentwood and get an app with a map of the park, and they could see the facilities in the park. So that's probably coming in the future. We might as well be prepared for it now, or start thinking about it. Bush honeysuckle, identify priority removal areas and start to develop a community volunteer group that would attack that. That's very hard to do because not everybody really wants to give up their weekends to wipe out honeysuckle, but really that's probably the best strategy and the most effective for cities like Brentwood. And finally, move forward with the complete parks plan, and that would include things that we haven't done, like inventory parkland and facilities, do an analysis where you figure out your deficit or your surplus based on needs and inventory, develop a program, make some recommendations, both citywide and on an individual park basis. That's the whole point of the plan. It looks broadly and then at each park. And with our effort, our initial assessment, we just weren't able to look at each park. And then develop some implementation strategies and phasing as well. So it was kind of a quick process. We started in June and did our work, came back in October, had another public meeting, and that was by design because a lot of people skedaddle over the summer, so we tried to get them on either end of that over the summer break. So does anybody have any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Andy? Alderman Lade?
When your group identified from the skating contingency, were they looking for ice or roller?
Oh, you mean it was Are you talking about the leisure skating? It was ice.
It was ice.
Yeah,
Well,
but the
but-
skateboarders, the
What?
skaters were skateboarders.
Okay.
They went skate park.
Yeah, they want to skate. The skate park is a skateboard park.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
But there was we heard some people talk about some leisure ice as well. I think some people still like to skate outside. It's pretty tough to do these days. Just ask Clayton; they're still struggling with that. So.
Alderman Saunders?
And I just had one comment. As
Sure.
far as the park over in Ward 1 or in that area, when we were doing the recreation survey, I had asked a question to be put in regarding that there's no park north of Manchester and west of Brentwood. And you kind of touched on that a little bit, that we use Tillis Park.
Right.
But I guess just for a comment, because the meeting was this same night as my Ward 1 meeting, but, you know, just even some type of little pocket park somewhere in that area for moms and that, because like, we also use the McGrath's playground and so
Right.
forth, but you can't use that during the school year during the day, so just some kind of small park, pocket park. on
Yeah,
that
that's
side.
kind of the Tillis is kind of a little bit more of a regional park,
Right.
and there is a need for the smaller neighborhood parks.
Right, just
So,
for, you know, I'm thinking moms and, you know, stay-at-home people that, you know, just go and have a cup of coffee and just a small area.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Andy, thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Okay, next item on the agenda, public hearing. We have one public hearing this evening in which I will gavel in for a conditional use permit to operate a professional training facility at 8615 Manchester Road. That's all right, we're just all staring at you, don't worry about it. I like to take it easy on people, you can, no.
Good evening. The request this evening is for a conditional use permit and site plan review for 8615 Manchester Road. Notices for the request were sent to nearby properties, and the notice was posted in the County. The subject site, which is shown in red on the screen, is located on the
Can we
north
turn the
side
light
of
out,
Manchester
Frank?
Road and east of Dorothy Avenue. The subject site is approximately a 0.35 acre tract of land zoned general commercial district. As the parcel is less than half an acre in size, it requires a conditional use permit to establish a personal training studio within the existing building.
Is it-
No exterior changes to the site are proposed. A site plan was previously approved in 2007. After an inspection, the site plan is in compliance with the original approval from 2007, with one exception, that there was one shrub that needed to be replaced on the site. The site is designated in the city's comprehensive plan within the neighborhood mixed-use land use category. The plan states that the neighborhood mixed-use commercial areas are intended to serve local residents and are located along arterials. The areas will allow for a variety of retail and service establishments. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed and made recommendation on the request for the conditional use permit under the requirements of the Section 25-85 of the City of Brentwood Code. After reviewing the criteria established within the code and the policies contained within the City of Brentwood Comprehensive Plan, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the request with the condition that the current dead shrub on the site be replaced.
Okay. Justin, I know I'm colorblind, can't see it anyway, but is it in the Lock, yeah, so that's American Lock Building?
That is
and it's
correct.
It would be the east portion of that building
That
that's
is
been
correct.
vacant for about 6 months, so, okay.
Correct.
And if you'd like to introduce yourself, I assume you're the applicant?
Yes, sir. My name is Nathan Williams. My address is 1414 Francis Road, Kirkwood, Missouri.
Great, thank you. Okay. Anybody have any questions for the applicant or Justin?
Nathan, if I may, what is the total number of parking spaces in that lot?
I believe that I'm going to have 3 in the front and then 6 in the back.
But you're doing personal training, so you're not looking for a heavy traffic flow?
No, sir,
in
it's
and
not
out?
going to be a commercial gym. I'll do a semi-private, which would be 2 to 3 people, and then private one-on-one.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And just for clarification, the total, I believe there are 22 spaces total for both sides.
Sides, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank
I
you.
did have one.
Oh, Alderwoman Saunders.
Did we hear any complaints from the neighbors that were notified or any questions?
Staff has not heard any complaints.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. I will close the public hearing, and I believe there will be a bill on, or under conditional use permits further down the agenda.
Yes.
Next item, bids. We have 2 this evening, Memorial Inline Skating Rink Project.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff issued a request for proposal to redo the Memorial Park Inline Rink project. A total of 5 firms responded to the RFP. Musselman and Hall Contractors at $281,859. VJ Cement Contracting at $265,910. The Harlan Company at $283,600. C. Rallo Contracting Company, Inc. at $312,000. Lawler Corporation at $264,700. The purpose of the project is to redo the entire surface in concrete instead of asphalt. This will be stronger, stable, and will not need to be replaced for approximately 15 to 20 years. We also hope to correct some known ADA, American with Disabilities Act issues which impact individuals with disabilities. Also, with this project, we will be replacing the fence on the north end of the site. Lawler Corporation submitted the best and low bid at the cost of $264,700. Public Works Committee recommends approval.
Great. Okay. Any questions? Okay, thank you. And there's a bill on this evening.
Yes.
Okay.
The second item is for ambulance billing and services. Staff also issued a request for proposal, and the city received 5 responses from EMS MC, AMB Ambulance Medical Billing, LifeQuest, ProClaims, which is our current vendor, Mediclaims, and affiliated group. There's more than 5. MCA Medical Claims Assistant, Maximize Inc., Toomday EMS Billing, and Health One. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Total of 10 instead of the 5 that I said. This ambulance billing service will provide a comprehensive package for billing, collection, follow-up, account posting, accounts receivable, reconciliation, financial accounting, receipts management, and reporting services. Staff did a reference check on the recommended firm, which is EMS Management and Consultant. They have 17 years of experience and hold many municipal ambulance billing contracts nationwide for both the fire departments and the EMS agencies, both large and small agencies. Included in their rate, which is also on the agenda tonight, is an agreement with EMS Management and Consultant for ESO Solutions Electronic Patient Care Reporting, which will be used for patient care reporting on Brentwood's ambulance. Public Safety recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Alderman Lady?
If I may, educate us if you can, Bola. 4.8% if they go without the EPCR software, and then they bounce it up to 7.25% if they're allowed to go with the newer software. Wouldn't the newer software bring the price down?
The newer software is included in the price, and we were looking at changing out our software next year anyhow, which would have been a $10,000 to $12,000 expense. They include the software in their pricing, and they absorb all the prices and all the costs and all the technical fees for the software. So they roll that into the pricing. That's part of the 7.25% that they're charging. So we're getting the software at no cost to us. It's rolled into the 7.25%.
But you're paying an extra 3% because of that, so there really is a cost to us.
Oh, there
We're
isn't.
upgrading to a better software, but we're also paying more long run for the
There's
third
nothing out
party.
of pocket to us, is what it comes down to.
But they're, okay,
Yeah, there's no out-of-pocket
Pocket to
cost
the
to
city.
us, and that's stated in the proposal.
yeah. Currently, we have another firm that is doing our billing
That's correct.
that do not have this software.
They do not.
Okay. You mentioned that you were looking at wanting to upgrade our program to bring this software into house.
Correct.
Okay, if we did that, would we have the physical capability of doing our own billing then?
No,
No. So thus, we do need to go to a third party.
absolutely.
Okay.
Billing is so complex.
Yes.
There's nothing about ambulance billing you want to take on internally.
Then why would we want to go buy the software?
Well, the software isn't necessarily, the software goes in conjunction with EMSMC's billing site. We have to have patient reporting software no matter what. So the software that we're using right now, in my opinion, is old and outdated. This gives us a more modern software that also works in conjunction when, for example, when the ambulance crew gets done putting a patient report in, they simply upload it, it goes directly to the billing company. We don't have that ability now.
Thank you. That's where the connection is. So
That's
that
correct.
when we submit our reports, it's on their format so that they can do an easier transfer to
Absolutely.
bill.
Yep.
Hopefully with fewer mistakes.
It's a full turnkey service.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
I, yeah, just-
Alderman Saunders?
Is the AMB ambulance billing the same, except for we just didn't have any local references, or is it not full turnkey?
Their proposal was very similar, but they did not have any local references. I talked to, there's a number of departments locally that use EMSMC, and
Okay.
they're extremely happy with the
Okay.
service. So that was the tipping point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move, yeah. Okay, we'll move on to hearing of any matters of public interest upon any person present. Please come forward and give us your name and address. Sorry.
My name is Jim Pozo, 2211 St. Clair. I guess I have two questions. Last week's closed session meeting, our last meeting, where you took up the bond, it was a closed meeting, and then I guess two aldermen were posting their opinions or what they got out of the meeting on the patch. So it seems like if it's a closed meeting, then nothing should be said out there in public, or can all the minutes be open to the public? And then the other question is, Alderman Toohey made a motion, and I didn't quite understand what it was going to do, because then what you said in the patch was not consistent with what your motion was. Because in the patch, you said you were going to turn in the audit for review by the bond company, and then in the patch, you said it was going to be filed. There would be claims filed, I thought. So I misunderstood. Am I misunderstanding what you said?
We'll wait till public comment's over, yeah. Okay.
All right, those are my two questions.
Denise Sebbing, 2612 Porter, and I guess you probably are wondering why I'm here. I'm wanting to get an update on the watering bowl. 2 weeks ago, you all had mentioned that you thought it was an issue, the barking dogs. Andy, I think you went down, you heard it, and everybody here agreed that that was an issue, and that the watering hole, or the watering bowl, had indicated that when you passed that approval for that facility, that there wasn't going to be barking, and there obviously is. Frank, I know you confirmed you hear it from your house too, the barking. I'm back again. As of 7:30 this morning, there was loud barking from the dogs. I guess my questions are, why aren't they being cited for breaking ordinances? It's a nuisance. It's a nuisance that if any of us as neighbors living in that area would allow our dogs to do that, we would be fined or cited. Secondly, I want to make a comment. It would have been nice to get an update from City Hall. I know you had asked, Mayor, that they try to make this a priority. And we hadn't received anything. We have been calling about this for over a year. We've been told we're harassing employees from City Hall because we've called too much. We've been told by police when we call to have them documented that, you know, we've become a pest. And you know, we're reaching out to the people that we would expect would help provide us some relief with the situation. And instead, we're not getting any relief. And so I'm reaching back to you as the Board of Aldermen to say, you know it's a problem. You approved this. I went to the P&Z meetings and questioned this. I went to the Board of Aldermen meeting when it was proposed, when they were saying this, and I questioned this. You know, even tonight, the gentleman talking about the dog park said, make sure that there isn't any, you know, issues with people and the residents living there. We've been dealing with this for over a year. To say that we're frustrated is an understatement. So I'm back again to find out what's going on. What relief are we going to get? Thank you.
Okay.
Susan Ryan Pine. Not really sure what my question is, other than the fact I'd be interested in knowing really what our ARB's responsibility is as far as the development of housing in Brentwood. We had so much controversy about the scale of Boys Hope, Girls Hope, and yet there's a house being built just off of Brentwood, just behind Enterprise. It's an excessive home next to this very small home. It's on top of it. It's intrusive. It probably blocks out all of its sunlight. I'd like you to each drive by it. I'd like you to see whether or not, if this home were built next to your home, whether you would feel that it was an intrusion, and what is it that we're doing with our building projects. I don't have any issue with growth. I don't have any issue with trying to blend them in. There's a home that was built halfway down Bridgeport. It's beautiful. It's been blended in well. But what are we doing? We're building excessive homes on top of other homes. Take a look at it. Let's look at our build codes. Let's look at what our ARB does. I don't think you'd enjoy it if it was your home. Thank you.
Okay, close public comment. I'll address the last one first to the best of my ability at this point. You know, it is difficult sometimes when you're building new, especially residential in existing neighborhoods. We are bound by our zoning codes. We're bound by setbacks and with respect to property lines. You know, when these houses were built, for instance, my house, 1950, you know, with a 5-foot side yard setback and so forth. I can tell you that in talking to other communities within what we consider as the inner ring of St. Louis County that has post-World War II homes, this is not an issue just unique to the city of Brentwood. But if we are looking for, you know, one of Brentwood's biggest issues, maybe from a housing standpoint, is that probably 30+% of our houses are still 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Our community has gone from a population of almost 12,000 in the 1970s. Now we're on the upswing now, but we were down to almost 7,400 in population, primarily because we don't have houses that people raise families in today in our modern societies. And so now when you're taking the existing 5,000 square foot lots that only have a 50-foot wide frontage, a minimum of 40 feet, but most of them are typically 50 feet wide and 100 feet deep, and you want to build what would be considered to be a modern home, 2-story, with a bedroom with a master bath and at least 2 bedrooms for the kids, and you know, a garage, which many of our houses don't have. It is very tight on these lots. But I can tell you, if you're going to make your housing so restricted that you can't build those kind of homes, you won't have any new investment in the community. And it is very difficult. But, you know, we as a community, I think, have been fortunate. I think we've had 7 to 8 new homes be built or built out this year where people have actually moved into them. I can tell you one just behind me, a little ways down, in talking to him. He was a resident that lived on Douglas Court with his wife. They had 2 kids and needed to get to a bigger house. And if they didn't have the opportunity to buy the one on Mary Avenue, they probably would have looked outside of Brentwood. And so it's difficult, and I think we build to the codes that we have, but you can't all of a sudden change a setback back to being wider or, you know, more than 5-foot side yard setback. That would make every house that you have non-compliant. And you know, so you need to take those things into consideration. But I think the long-term investment in our community is a good thing for Brentwood in order to build up our population, to have homes that people want to move in and raise their families in. And that's my personal opinion. But you know, and I think our ARB and our planning and zoning do a great job when they're reviewing those kinds of things. With respect to the dogs barking, I think we're going to try to finalize. They have completed now, or are they not complete?
They're not complete.
They're not
with
complete.
The second half of the
I think what I'd like to do is maybe ask them if they could come before the board at our next meeting and answer some questions from the Board of Aldermen.
Your Honor,
Alderman Leahy.
I think that may be better done by a letter from the city documenting the complaints and asking them how they wish to address it in writing versus putting them on the spot for an
That's
off-the-cuff answer.
Okay, but I think we need to get an answer for them on what they think their next steps are.
Officially, the city has only received a total of 5 complaints since May of this year from the same person. So we aren't receiving complaints from the neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah. But still, I think we need to, ultimately.
If I'm not mistaken, there still is a current ongoing sound study that is being done, or has that now been completed because the fencing and the curtain are all up the way they're supposed to be?
The sound study was completed several months ago, and the purpose of the sound study was to bring the noise level down at least by 10 dBA. It accomplished that. What happened since was the acoustic engineer that the city hired is now working with the owner of the watering bowl on another property in another community, and he took a look and noticed that the second half of the sound curtains wasn't installed properly. But when we've gone out there since then to just check with our own meters, there is no violation.
So we're still working the issue with them to try to find a way to...
There will continue to be dogs barking, but there is no violation of the city's sound code or noise ordinance. There's no violation there.
Yeah.
Your Honor, if I may.
Alderman Leahy.
Then is the city currently in the process of determining if the complaints are based on the nuisance ordinance and working it from that end?
You're correct. That's what we're trying to do.
Okay, so we're away from the sounding.
Exactly.
And we're now into the nuisance issue
Exactly.
and getting that through, which is a term in the conditional use permit.
I can't speak to that. I haven't looked at the conditional use permit
Thank you.
this week.
Bola, do you know when they plan on getting it fixed?
What I'm told is that he needs to purchase bolts and fasteners just to install those, and once that's done, it'll be complete. But whether they're done now or when the last time we did the reading, there's still no violation. The noise level that we hear when the dogs are let out is less than 4 seconds. So in accordance with our code, there is no violation because they have brought it down from like 78 to 10 less than that.
Okay.
Except for the nuisance portion that we're looking at.
Right, it's just the nuisance portion in that the dogs bark.
I guess we need to make sure that they're aware of the that it's escalating, though. Do you know what I mean? That we're very concerned that we allowed this conditional use in that area. And if there's some way that they can further modify, like they said originally, 1 or 2 dogs out at a time.
Yep. I think we need to review the conditional use permit
And
and, yeah.
Because this one may not be the simplest to solve.
Okay, maybe we could report back to the board at the next meeting.
So not to ask them yet to come before the board?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
The
And-
first question?
Do you want to go?
Well, I mean, we're going to write them, right?
Tom, do you want to comment
And tell
first?
them that that's what we're going towards, though.
You go right ahead.
All right.
I have no
Um,
comment.
I would have to defer to legal counsel as far as the information that was reviewed. I don't see why we'd want to open up all the minutes for that. I don't think-
Under the Sunshine Law, the vote itself is a public record, but the minutes of the meeting itself are not. They still remain closed records. So it would be up to the board to decide whether or not they wanted to release a closed record.
Yeah, no, I'd be honest, I would have to check the comments on Patch to the motion, off the top of my head. I couldn't answer that, but I can get back to you.
Okay. Can I have a motion for the introduction and reading, or first and second reading of bills number 5787, 5789, 5800, 5801, 5802, 5803, 5804, and 5805. First and second readings only.
So moved.
You said
And second.
5789, is that correct? I have 5799 in
Yeah, it's
the
99.
synopsis.
99, sorry.
I didn't know if that made a difference.
Second, Your Honor.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. First reading of bill number 5787, please.
Your Honor, we did have a prior first reading of that bill. At a prior meeting, we can do 2 readings again if you would prefer.
Well, then make sure we say this is the amended bill. Okay. Second reading.
Wait a minute, Your Honor, that's the issue on the table then. The motion that I will reiterate for this bill.
Okay.
We redrafted the bill to correct it, or to suggestively correct the bill to making food trucks available at special activities, is the way the bill reads now.
And parks.
And parks to work with. My motion was based on the original writing of the bill in allowing the food trucks to be a service throughout the city of Brentwood, limited to certain areas and within distances or outside of distances of other established businesses to work with. In an effort to try to give the food truck vendors an opportunity to determine if Brentwood would be a reasonable site, my motion was to correct that bill.
Okay.
If this board is working with the amended bill that limits the food trucks, as the motion that did pass last month, or last meeting, to limit it just to special activities to work with, then my amended motion would not be necessary.
Well, I mean, but would you like to go ahead and make that motion and see?
Your Honor.
Alderman.
I'm sorry, point of order. The motion was already made, and it was voted on, and what wasn't finished was your tiebreaker vote on his original motion that went a 4-4 tie, and...
Well, if it was,
Then
well, I
discard.
mean, just as a point, maybe this will resolve the issue. If this was to allow them to go anywhere in the community, I guess they would still have to get a permit to evaluate whether they would want to be here or not. I would have voted no on that.
Okay.
Okay.
But the bill since has changed in
Right.
form that makes that motion even moot.
Right.
Because we're limiting, the current bill limits only to special activities. And
Special activities, city parks,
Parks.
and other events to be approved by the city administrator on a case-by-case basis.
Now, in the new bill, I would question the board as to what is that. Let's assume we're talking the Madden Fest activity, and you have a food vendor that wishes to come down and establish their truck somewhere on the field as a food vendor. What would be your permit fee? Would it be the $75 permit fee that we charge the booth people? Or would it be some other special fee? Because the bill doesn't clarify what that fee is
It
going to
would
be.
If they want to be a vendor at the Brentwood Days, they're going to pay just like anybody else.
Okay.
I would think. Alderwoman Saunders?
Do we need to, the readings are done, we can discuss the amended bill? Is that
Let's have the
correct?
first read, or the second reading for, well, either way.
However
that's
you
fine.
want to do it, I just,
Why don't we have the second reading first?
okay.
Wait, I need a motion for the second reading. Oh, we already did that. Okay, all right. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5787 by title only, an ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of Brentwood, Missouri by deleting Article 13 in its entirety and by adding in lieu thereof a new Article 13 as it relates to a pilot program for mobile food vendors, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, providing for the current maintenance of this code, and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
Your Honor, may I ask for the floor?
Yeah,
I
Alderman.
had it.
Alderman Saunders.
Sorry. The problem I'm having is the, let's see, the amended bill, 1 to the 3rd page, any application for charity events, the word charity. We don't, I mean, it's for application for any event on private property. I don't want to limit it just to charitable. I mean, we had talked about if, you know, like you had mentioned, a company picnic, and if they wanted to have a food truck. So I think that we should eliminate charity from that, and then if that's the case, I don't know if you want to go ahead and put back in that it still has to remain 300 feet. Actually, I don't even think that's necessary. I just think if we eliminate the charity from that statement.
Would you make that as a motion?
Okay, I so move that, I move that we amend 5787 by deleting charity before the word events.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Do we need a roll call, or a roll call vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Thank you, okay. Alderman Leahy.
If we can stay on the same page, please. And 2 sentences above that, the mobile food vendor permit shall be $100 to work with. That fee is higher than our current Madden Fest booth fee.
Your Honor, point of order.
Oh, it is not? Oh, is it? Knights of Columbus paid less. Didn't? Okay, thank you. I'm going to have to speak with our treasurer.
Your Honor.
Alderman Kramer.
In my notes from the session where we discussed this particular amendment, actually the amount that I
thought we had lowered it.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was actually quite a bit lower. It was, I've got $25 actually instead of $100. I don't think it made it into our amended version, but I had 25.
Okay.
This is not a money-making venture for the city.
Right, it's really just so that we know when they're here, so that they
Correct.
register when they're doing the events. You know, that would be my thought. So, any,
Motion to amend, Your Honor, I guess what we have written in front of us, Bill 5787, further to include a $25 mobile food vendor permit fee instead of $100.
is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, Your Honor.
Absolutely. Alderman Leahy.
Mr. Kramer, can you rationalize how that would affect what would be going on at Madden Fest days? If you've got 6 food vendors right now
Don't-
that have booth space, and now you'd allow the food trucks to come in at $25 each.
Don't confuse the two. If they
Okay.
want to be a participant in Brentwood Days, they're going to have to pay the same booth fee, whether they bring their own truck or use a tent, as everybody else.
Can we put that into the bill?
You don't need to.
This is for
They need to
special events
apply to
only.
be part of Brentwood Days. The fee for being there is $100 this year, and so it's no different than anybody else.
Can you foresee the confusion?
No,
No,
I do.
I don't. Yeah.
I think it's clear.
I mean, again, that's a special, you know, they're not gonna have to get the $25 one, they're gonna have to pay to be part of Brentwood Days. That would be my take.
I agree.
Right. So we had a first and second on reducing the fee to $25 per event. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Except you as well, Lee? Okay, thank you. All right. Any other changes? Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the bill as amended?
Motion to approve, Your Honor, Bill 5787 as amended.
And second?
Second. I was just curious, Alderman Nguyen, why are you saying no? I just was curious for your reasoning.
I'm really not for this whole thing with vendor charge.
Oh, okay, okay,
So it kind of
thank you.
fits into what grand scope.
Okay, thank you. I just was curious.
Great. Okay. We had a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Question, if I can, Your Honor, before we go into
Alderman
roll
Lee.
call. The fact that this went through P and Z and received a favorable recommendation, do we fall under the 6-vote change for overturning and or passing?
I think we can amend their recommendation.
We can amend, yes, but the final vote for this bill.
That's if it was a negative recommendation.
Exactly. Thus, I would make the recommendation that because we're missing 2 members of the Board of Aldermen, that you do not have a final vote, because I think the vote will be close enough that you need to have all 8 votes to count it.
I'll leave that up to the board.
Unless the city attorney wants to tell me that I'm wrong.
I can't disagree with that.
All right. So we have a motion to put this on hold till the next meeting?
As a point of order, if I may.
I'll withdraw my second.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
need to withdraw the first and second.
I think we're making too much out of this. It's food trucks in the city. It's already been pushed at one
Well-
meeting, now we're gonna do it again. I mean, how dysfunctional are we? We can't figure out a decision on
But
food
right now, if
trucks.
you have one person vote no, it dies.
Yes.
And I will.
Right.
So I'll rescind my motion, Your Honor, and make a new motion to place Bill 5787 as amended on hold.
Hopefully, we'll get
second.
this done before next spring when it gets warm out again.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor of placing bill, or that was just remove your, did you make the motion?
I removed my first.
Okay, and your second. Do I have a motion to place bill number 5787 on hold as amended?
That you did.
I did,
Okay.
we did.
And I second.
And second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
one more issue, if I may, Your Honor.
Sure.
When the bill comes back forward to the board, it is so noted that we've had both first and second reading.
We can read it again.
We can do it, thank you, if we may do one more reading.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. First reading, bill number 5799.
First reading Bill number 5799 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the amendment of the City of Brentwood's current employee handbook, providing information technology security policies and policies regarding political activities, standards of conduct, shift pay, compensatory time, overtime, vacation time, sick leave, and substance abuse.
Okay, synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, this bill was previously, was it placed on hold?
Yes.
I believe, okay. The Brentwood Employee Handbook was for an ordinance authorizing the amendment to our City of Brentwood's current employee handbook specifying information technology security policies and those policies regarding political activities, standards of conduct, shift pay, compensatory time, overtime, vacation time, sick leave, and substance abuse. Our Ways and Means Committee recommended approval after reviewing this at their August 29th, 2013 meeting.
Okay, Alderman Lee.
Your Honor, I'm on page 20 of this bill. This is the issue that I raised 2 weeks ago. In the password protection standards, I am having trouble agreeing with here's the do not list. Do not write down passwords or store passwords anywhere in your office, which includes sticky notes, and do not store passwords in a file on any computer system, smartphones, or similar devices. I checked, I have a total of 22 passwords at my accounts right now for Siler. There is absolutely no way that I can remember all 22 passwords. I do have them written down. I hesitate to pass a policy that I find very, very restrictive on the employees. If we want them to do a good job and they have multiple accounts, I think this is an unreasonable requirement. I understand the intent for security, but you've got to give them some leeway, and I'd hate to put it in a policy that gets them into a reprimand for doing what is reasonable.
Well, I would just have to disagree with you. The city has to protect the city, and to allow employees to put a sticky note up on their wall or their, well, I mean, but without having these guidelines in place, the ability for somebody to put it someplace where somebody else may be able to find it and get access to their computer, that then may get them access to our mainframe and police records, and you know, again, I'm not a computer whiz, but I think those things can happen, and I'm sure that they can happen. And you know, the city is already being attacked on a daily basis from hackers to get in, and this is all government agencies, but the city is, and for sure happens very regularly, trying to get in because of the information that does pass through here with respect to police and so forth. So we have to have these guidelines in place, not only to protect our employees, but to protect the city. And I don't think that, you know, if somebody needs to write them down and stick them in their wallet, then that's fine. But they need to follow these guidelines as if they're going to be an employee of the city of Brentwood. So, Alderwoman Saunders?
Is Robin here? That was the reason that this was placed. Okay. Can I ask you some questions, Robin?
Robin, why don't you introduce yourself since you...
I'm Robin Zlatic, IT Manager for Brentwood.
Okay. And I wanted to ask the remote access policy, this pertains to employees. Is there anything that is needed for the aldermen, just as far as we access our email and the employee portal?
No, that is not what is considered remote access. Remote access would be completely working from home or hotel room.
And none of the aldermen are that?
No.
Do that, okay. And then the other question was the retention policy that I had. Can you tell me what medium are the monthly backups stored on?
Well, right now, backups are on disk only. So we are working towards developing and implementing a backup media rotation. And just to clarify, the policy did not pertain to data retention. I did not want that to be confused with the backup media retention.
Okay.
So as we move forward, the backup systems that are to be on order are, at this point in time, LTO tapes. And as technology changes, I mean, they've gone through every iteration of backup media, so.
So what does this monthly full backups will be retained for a minimum of 3 years? What is that full backup?
So every night, the servers are backed up, and there is a daily tape rotation, a weekly tape rotation, and a monthly tape rotation. And what that monthly tape rotation is, the last Friday of the month, that tape is pulled and put aside, and that tape would be archived for a period minimum of 3 years.
Okay.
What data is in there is what I think is the question.
All of the data on the servers.
Okay, so there's no reason then that we need to get rid of it at the 3-year mark? I mean, it's just a disk. How big is it that you're storing?
They're just squares, smaller than a VHS tape. But the intent was to make it manageable. This does not touch the data. So the data on the servers that backs up to tape, that data is not modified, it's not deleted. That data stays as long as it's deemed by those departments or legally that data needs to be maintained. This is just the backup media. So if we purchase a backup library with a life expectancy of 7 years, then the media could be reused for that 7-year period. And at the end of that time, then you would need to compensate and say, okay, now we still need to be able to restore to those tapes for an additional 3 years after that system is replaced.
Okay, I'm not certain that I follow.
And it really just helps to keep costs down as well. The tapes run about $50 a piece. So if you reuse them, which is standard, that's really normal.
Okay. What about the annual backup? Like at the end of the year, you back up the entire system, and how long is that maintained? Or is that just part of the monthly backup?
That would just be a monthly tape.
A monthly tape. So can we change this, the minimum of 3 years? Can it be longer?
But let me just clarify, because this is just the backup system for the daily operations. All of the other different, whether it's emails or, they all have zoning paper, permits and those kinds of things. They all have a specific time that we need to keep those records before they're gone. This is just for the backup system from a day-to-day operational standpoint, how long we keep that backup. I think the logic is that after 3 years, you're probably not going to have a problem where you're going to need to go back and reinstitute that day-to-day operational information.
Correct. That data
Right.
would be considered stale.
Right. But all of the other items, within the system have specific times. For instance, the courts, they have to get rid of some years, they have to keep some longer. All of those have different policies and procedures, and the other departments do as well.
It's issued by the state, and we provided a copy
Right.
of that document to the board.
Right,
Okay.
I have a copy of that document. But we don't have to adhere to it. You can keep it longer. I mean, you can't get rid of it earlier, but you can keep it longer. And
But I
that's
think
what
we
were
should
talking
follow
about.
best practices and the guidelines set out by the state of Missouri. Any organization, keeping of data, is good, but also keeping data too long can be bad. Data can be used against you, and there are guidelines to follow. In the corporate world, there are businesses that if you don't get rid of data when you're supposed to, you get in trouble for it. I think as long as we're following best practices and the guidelines set out by the state of Missouri are the guidelines that we should follow.
The state cautions keeping data for longer than is necessary. They say that it can be expensive and may expose the office to costly litigation and discovery requirements. So I don't know why we would want to keep them longer.
Well, and with regards to right now, since, we have
We're not
the,
destroying anything other than what the judge indicated, those that are actively being,
Okay.
shredded because they're following state statutes.
okay,
Okay. All right. Thank you, Robin.
that's all I have. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Did we have the second reading?
That actually was the second.
That's what I
reading.
mean, we did the reading. Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion and second?
Second, Your Honor.
Motion is made and second to adopt Bill number 5799 into ordinance form.
Your Honor.
Alderman
It's- I believe it's amended. It says amended here. What were the amendments?
Authorized/approved.
Approved.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Under the
Alderman
one,
two.
yeah,
Okay.
for overtime, right?
Gotcha.
Okay. So, roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number.
Bill number.
Ordinance?
Jim, that's 5, right?
Bill number 5799 is now ordinance number 4465.
Thank you. First reading of bill number, second reading of bill number 5800.
Second reading, Bill number 5800 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute a professional services agreement on behalf of the city of Brentwood, Missouri with Higbee Associates for comprehensive compensation consulting and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, the Bill 5800, the compensation consultant bill, covers an ordinance authorizing our city's mayor and/or city administrator to approve an agreement with Higbee Associates for the compensation study. This has been discussed previously, and at its September 18th, 2013 meeting, the Ways and Means Committee reviewed and recommended approval of this bill.
Your Honor,
Alderman Leahy.
upon passage of this bill, is this going to be into the 2013 funding, or can we pass it with the idea that it's in 2014?
Correct.
Correct which way?
You can pass it with the knowledge that it will be in the 14 budget. At least that's what has been incorporated into the budget right now.
Okay.
Alderman Saunders.
Do you play this in installments? I mean, could we get started in the fact that, there's $12,000 in surplus pilots that we'll be talking about tomorrow at Ways and Means than what we budgeted? It said that the city was receiving $362,000 and we only budgeted $350,000. And then there was some additional money for the workman's comp refund that we received too. I imagine we don't pay the full amount up front.
Well, you know, we have a number of projects that are going on simultaneously right now. The internal auditors paid us a visit last week. They're doing the not internal auditors, but the auditors, Shimmershaw and Treelor, who are doing the internal control financial policies. And they spent a week here. Next week, we anticipate that they will start to meet with staff to start asking questions. So we would like to kind of space this out. And if we could have a January start date, that would be ideal.
Right.
Okay, and then the other thing is, since we're talking about cost, CBiz is less expensive. It had more points earned, and I kind of was looking at the proposals, and they seem to have they have quite a bit of experience, and then their main consultant is the head of the St. Louis Compensation Committee. I mean, since we're kind of find $1 here and $1 there, would we be better off going with CBiz?
Well, you know, after we met with them, we first did the scoring before we initially interviewed, and then after the interview, we did another scoring, which reflects what we have here. But when we talk to the references, and we feel that we better understand our employees and how involved they would want to be getting a chance to meet with the consultant so that the consultant gets a better understanding of what they do, as opposed to CBiz, who indicated to us that they would just send out a survey instrument and have you sign that, fill it out. We just thought that, what is that, a little over $2,000 more is negligible for a better product at the end.
In looking, though, the CBiz seems like, I know you fill out the survey, but is there a little bit more independence there as far as just really matching up?
I think there's independence in both. They're not going to be influenced by staff. I think their credibility is on the line for future work with other municipalities, so I would venture to say they wouldn't let us sway them one way or the other.
Right. I mean, I guess it's just with the CBiz, they had City of Clayton, City of Creve Coeur, City of Columbia, Kansas City, St. Charles. I mean, they seem to have pretty good recommendations. Well, can we revisit this at the Ways and Means tomorrow, since we're pushing for 2014?
I just wanted to make one quick comment that when I started checking references, CBiz, and this, I mean, either firm could do a good job for us. There's no doubt about it. CBiz really hadn't done a lot of municipal work. The references he listed was work he had done before when he worked for Buck Consulting, the principal lead. He had done some work on different municipal projects in the past, 10, 15 years ago. He was listing those references as work that he had done under another firm. Okay. So I found that this just came out during the references, and Clayton was very happy with his work, but we just felt like the Higbee had a real breadth and depth of the St. Louis market. So.
Okay. All right.
Your Honor, if I could.
Sure.
Fully respectful of Alderman Saunders' comments on this topic and the question about Higbee Associates versus the other, I was equally investigative on the topic, and I was satisfied with the staff's review and their recommendation of Higbee. But if I could make a recommendation, we could pass the bill tonight, talk about funding and timing tomorrow. And let's just if we can get the votes tonight, I don't know what's going to happen, but I hope we can. And then we can move forward. Okay. So a motion to perfect Bill 5800 into ordinance form.
I'll second.
Okay. As a matter of discussion, and I'm going to tag on to Alderman Leahy's comments at the last Board of Alderman meeting. I don't really know what information we hope to gain by spending this almost $30,000 that we pretty much don't already have or couldn't attain ourselves. A report was given to us by a local municipality that had starting salaries and high range and also current salaries of almost all of their department heads for 10 or 11 municipalities surrounding us, what I would say would be our peers, including Frontenac, Ladue, Shrewsbury, Webster Groves, Richmond Heights, and so forth. The report was very detailed in that it had the healthcare benefits, what the co-pays were, what they paid for the family portion, what they paid for the individual portion, what their deductibles were for all of the municipalities. It included the how many sick days they allow them to accrue and then take when they retire. Just a lot of information, and really I don't know what other questions could be asked, and this report was completed in 2011. Because the reality, this is for comparison, and none of those cities have changed that much in the last 2 years. Maybe some of the numbers could be updated, but I think from a municipal standpoint, the information, and again, maybe there's some information out there that people are looking for that I'm unaware of, but if we're just doing it for salary surveys and compare benefits and those kinds of things, I think we really already have that. And I think that this $30,000 could be spent better elsewhere. That's my opinion. Alderman Saunders.
Well, we'll get a first view of the budget tomorrow night. And Julie, do you feel that you are able to, based on this information, offer, when you prepared the budget, that the benefit package you're bringing forward in this budget is competitive, considering other markets?
Julie did not prepare the budget.
I thought maybe with health benefits that she, competitively, what other communities contribute or...
We feel we're competitive. We did that last year.
And we have that report that shows what they have, because all of them, almost all of them that participated in this, actually maybe all of them did, are part of Slate and part of the group. Again, some cities pay different amounts for their deductibles and those kinds of things, but all that was listed in that report that was given to Ways and Means 8 months ago.
Julie, can you speak to it? When you first came, you said how important it was to have this survey done and how critical it was. So,
Okay, I'm going to be very diplomatic here because obviously, we're going to do whatever you guys direct us to do. What I was saying about the compensation study is that when people started asking me questions about how we're paid and how our benefits look, my response was, I'm uncomfortable giving that kind of data or that kind of opinion without there being fresh information that a professional has put together that says this is where you're at, both internally and externally. And yes, there's value, I think, in seeing that information, but that's a judgment you guys have to make as far as what kind of value that has for your organization. So is it valuable? Yes. Is it essential? That's for you to decide.
Very diplomatic.
That was a good answer. But considering that, I think you said you did find one from the 80s, a compensation survey. So like you said, fresh data. I mean, it's not.
Well, but we have it from 2011, again, that has all these municipalities listed. And keep in mind, there may not have been a survey done, but over the years there was another, and I'm going to get was it City, what was the?
City Tech.
City Tech, which was an organization that a lot of municipalities belong to, that they would post all of this information on with respect to their salaries and benefits for their employees. And when the city of Brentwood was hiring new employees, especially at the management level, we would look at that information to see where we stood within our peers in this market. So it wasn't that for all these years the city has been doing things blind. There are just other ways of getting this information. And again, I think if there's something specifically that we want to look for, that's great. Then I think there's ways of doing that without spending $30,000. But again, if it's just to see the salaries and how we compare to the municipalities around us, I think we already have that information. Alderman Kramer.
Your Honor, I wasn't sure if we were going to be debating this topic this evening or not, and I certainly respect your comments. I want to offer an alternate view if I could. In the coming days, weeks, months, even perhaps years, our city is going to be making some important decisions regarding the payrolls, the expenses, the expenditures of our city that are loosely based on past data and present data that's been gathered by our staff. But liken the situation, if you will, to a city street that has 3 houses within reasonable proximity to each other, and each house has 3 kids and a mom and a dad. Each of those houses is completely different in terms of their expenditures, the descriptions of the jobs, the responsibilities, of the chores, if you will, of the children. Our city has various positions that may, in title only, be similar to other cities. But if you get down to the actual job description, their responsibilities, the time worked, the history, and many other factors, I think it's entirely important for our city to have a benchmark. Even if this is the last one that's done for the next 10 years, I think it's important for us to have the benchmark. We're going to have the funds next year for sure. And I understand that maybe some could say that it's expensive, but I think we've gone through a bidding process here, and I think that it's going to be worthwhile once you take a look at the decisions that are made after it's research.
But under that scenario, are you saying that we can't compare ourselves to other municipalities because the jobs aren't the same? Then again, why are we doing the survey?
Well,
I think if you're looking at salaries alone, and I think this has been stated publicly too, most of these other municipalities put Brentwood into their surveys that they've already completed because we are the benchmark. Because we have some of the highest paid, especially with respect to our public safety employees in St. Louis County. And you know, from that respect, again, I don't know what point out something that you think we're really going to gain out of this that's worth $30,000, I'm all for it. But again, I just don't think there's anything out there that we can't get the information and put this $30,000 in maybe paving another street or doing some more sidewalks in our community, instead of just so that we have a piece of paper that compares us to the other municipalities.
I think what Alderman Kramer was saying, you know, and maybe just different words, is that what they do is they make sure job responsibilities are compared to job responsibilities. It's not necessarily titles, so that you're comparing apples and apples when you do this. And also, you know, it's done by someone that's independent, and it's a good foundation for making decisions. Like you said, we are the benchmark, but can we sustain being the benchmark? We need to look at those things, and I don't feel comfortable with a survey that may or may not be accurate, you know, starting to make decisions about benefits and compensation unless I know that it's accurate.
Well, then I would ask that Ways and Means review that report that we received, and I would just ask, tell me what's not in there that you are specifically looking for.
Can we ask Julia a question again? Do you mind coming up? Dora, I'm not going to make you give an opinion. Do you see cost-saving benefits from doing something like this?
That depends on your long-term philosophy, I think. If you're interested in setting a standard or a pay philosophy for your organization that's based in, you know, we want to be a city that pays 100% of the market, or 110% of the market, or 90% of the market, the cost savings is going to come from you making those big global decisions, basically. Mm-hmm. If you say, you know, our sweet spot is when we pay 90% of the market, so that's what we're going to shoot for. And maybe that would result in cost savings, maybe not. Depends on how you play with the salaries.
Right.
So, did that answer your question?
It does. Another angle I'm thinking that was to prevent turnover. Do you know roughly what turnover would cost us per employee? Yeah, that might be a difficult question.
Well, I mean, there's like the industry standard where they say, you know, an employee that leaves costs you, what, 6 months of salary? So it depends on, that's hard in the government world because we really measure things like that. I could research that for you. I can't answer it.
It's not necessary.
Okay.
Alderman Sanders?
Again, too, though, we have to be responsible with the residents' tax dollars. Like I said, I'm someone that likes to tip to the high end, too, so that you do keep employees, but you don't have to overpay, you know what I mean? So I mean, we have to be responsible and frugal. That's our responsibility, is to be responsible and accountable to the residents with their tax dollars.
Well, again, if pay is the issue, then those numbers were in there, and again, you know, that's why I would ask that you review that again, and you know, I would just like to know what's not in there. You know, and I'll be very frank. My fear is what I've seen other organizations do is when they do something to this depth, and maybe they don't have the information that we already have, so they do it. Many of those organizations are doing it in order to reduce costs and to reduce benefits and reduce salaries or freeze salaries as they're going forward. I haven't said this recently at the Board of Alderman meeting, but the city of Brentwood is in great financial shape. I don't care what any reports people like to read. You know, we have positioned ourselves and we have worked to get to the point that we're at over the last couple of years with the elimination of the Brentwood, the Promenade TIF, and the next year will be Brentwood Square and Deerberg's TIFs, which will add pretty close to $3 million a year, if I'm not mistaken, to the city coffers over all of our funds. And you know, and so we've worked to get this to this level, and our employees have worked to get to this level. And you know, and I think we are the standard in St. Louis County. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think you know, the reason that we get so many applications when we have job openings is because people want to come here and work, because not only because of the salaries, but the way they're treated as employees, which I think is the city of Brentwood's biggest asset. And again, I just think the information is already out there. If there's something that somebody specifically wants, then let's get it. But I think we could save $30,000.
When you say, you know, to the employees, and we have worked to get here, the residents to get here. They sacrifice, there's, you know, the additional traffic and crime from the new developments, which are what help make our city, you know, in the great financial position it is. But they would also like to have their streets repaired right away. I mean, so if, you know, if there's excess money and we're paying way over the mark, that money should go to do things that they would like done, such as repairing their streets immediately, vacuuming up the leaves. I mean, I realize right now that they don't have to pay for those pay for trash and other things that other municipalities do. But again, there's trade-offs when you no longer become a bedroom community and you decide to allow development.
We were never a bedroom community.
Well, I know, but again, I'm just comparing to, I'm sorry.
You know, and I would contend if you really want to
I'm
get
just saying, if you're balancing, do you know what I mean? There's trade-offs. Right. Lower taxes, more development, you know, they're, just like you said too with the housing. It's just finding that balance.
And that's why we don't have utility taxes for our residents. We repair our sidewalks. We pay for trash service. We don't have any city property taxes. And there is a cost and an offset there. And I think that the growth has been manageable, and the reason that most of these projects that we've been able to complete and the reason they've been so successful, I don't think they really increase traffic that much. The reason they're here is because the traffic was already here, and that's why they wanted to be here. And we're just taking advantage of it. Now when they're driving through our community on a daily basis, they're stopping to shop on the way home. Alderman Leahy?
Your Honor, the way you're talking, would the mayor of the city of Brentwood consider vetoing this bill if it was passed?
Well, I'm not going to leave that up to you. I don't have to vote yet, so I'll take my action as necessary.
Why do you think every other community feels that this is necessary? I mean, I know you're not saying.
Well, again, I'm not going to
jumping
make
off a bridge,
blanket statements because I don't think every municipality has done this. I would say that probably the majority of them have not. We point to some of the larger communities like Clayton and Chesterfield and some of the other ones. A lot of them have done them internally, just like the report that we've been given. And again, we can do that. The information is out there. I know Julie's looking for things to do. Just seeing if she's paying attention. But you know, again, I think it's just the expenditure. I'm not, you know, again, not wanting to have the information and so forth, but it's just that I don't think we need to spend $30,000 in order to get it. Just because somebody else puts it together doesn't make it any more beneficial to the city of Brentwood. Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor. As we continue this debate. And certainly, I want to say that I respect other points of view on this topic. It is important, just because we do have the money doesn't mean that we should be considered the city that pays the most. I think that we have a fiduciary responsibility to our citizens and our residents that we undertake a study at least once like this, since the last even similar type of study wasn't done since the 1980s. I think eventually it will pay for itself, and I think that if we do make any decisions in the future, which I know there is some fear about what decisions could be made, but I think if we do make any decisions in the future that do impact people's livelihoods, whether it's not as great a raise as they were hoping for, or whether it's a capped salary on their position to keep us more in line, I think we owe it to not only the employees but the residents to make sure that our study has been comprehensive regarding our particular positions in our city and not compared to another city or receiving information from another source. That being said, if Alderman Saunders is in agreement, I don't think we have the votes here this evening, so perhaps I could withdraw my motion, you could withdraw your second.
I'll withdraw my second.
And I'd like to make a new motion to place Bill 5800 on hold.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry. All opposed?
Opposed.
Oh, well, then we have to have the vote.
I think we should vote on this thing, get it
Okay,
done.
we have a motion to perfect bill number 5800 into ordinance form.
Before we do that, Mayor, can I get clarification on who actually voted yes and no to place it on
Alderman
hold?
Kramer voted yes, Alderwoman Saunders voted yes, and everyone else voted no. Is that right? Alderman
Yes.
Tui, you as well, right?
Yes. I'm gonna,
In order to have a vote, it does have to be made in the affirmative, no matter how you intend to vote. So do I have a motion to perfect bill number 5800 into ordinance form?
So moved.
And second?
second, Your Honor.
Roll call?
Alderman Nguyen?
No.
Alderman Robertson?
No.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Okay.
Break the tie.
It's 3-3, sir.
It's not going to get 5 votes anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. But I would vote no. So, but you need 5 votes to pass an ordinance, so.
Correct.
Right. So, sorry for that confusion. First reading of bill number 5801, please.
First reading bill number 5801 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the installation of 2 additional fire hydrants in the city of Brentwood.
Okay, synopsis, please.
Your Honor, Bill 5801 is for 2 new fire hydrants located at Agnes Avenue. The bill is for an ordinance amending and authorizing the installation of 2 new fire hydrants. This is on the south side of the Drury Inn along Agnes Avenue. This item is part of the approved site development plan for the city of Brentwood.
Okay, any questions? Alderman Leahy?
These were in the Drury plans to make this all so that their project came out correctly for the fire and safety for the facility that they're building.
Chief?
Yes, this was all part of the jury project.
To work it through.
There's going to be 2 more additional hydrants later on down the road, too, that are going to go out on their parking lot.
Lot outside, yeah, to work with.
Great. Okay. Second reading, please.
Second reading bill number 5801 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the installation of 2 additional fire hydrants in the city of Brentwood.
Okay. Do you have a motion, please?
Motion to perfect Bill 5801 into ordinance form.
Second.
We had a first and a second to adopt bill number 5801 in ordinance form. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5801 is now ordinance number 4467.
Thank you. First reading of bill number 5802, please.
First
I'm
reading.
sorry,
I'm sorry,
4466 is done.
66.
Thank you.
No, you're right. What I saw.
First reading of bill number 5802, please.
First reading Bill Number 5802 by title only, an ordinance granting approval of a site development plan and conditional use permit for a personal training business at property numbered 8615 Manchester Road, which permits under the provisions of Chapter 25 of the Brentwood City Code the development of that site, providing the conditions of such development, providing the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, Bill 5802 is a bill for a site development and conditional use plan and permit for the approval of a personal training business. This is to be located approximately adjacent to the American Locksmiths on Manchester Road. The ordinance would grant approval of the site development plan and conditional use permit for that personal training business at 8615 Manchester Road. Applicant is requesting approval to operate a personal training business. Due to the fact that the parcel is less than 1/2 an acre, a personal training studio is a conditional use. Hours of the operation of the facility would be Monday through Saturday, 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. The Planning and Zoning Commission has reviewed and recommended approval of Bill 5802.
Thank you. Any questions? Second reading, please.
I believe Alderman Leahy
Yes.
had a...
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm looking at Section 2, letter D. The sentence that would like clarification, and I apologize, I did not make it to the Planning and Zoning meeting when this came through. Signs and markers located on the surface within the parking facility shall be used as necessary to ensure efficient and safe traffic operation of the facility. Which signs, are we talking handicap parking signs, or are we talking something else?
I don't see the guy anymore.
Are you talking about D?
Yes,
Well, I think
Section
it's
2, letter D.
Right, it's just the spaces in general. And it would include handicap, right? Yeah.
Okay.
It's more of a general over.
It's the first time I've seen it, and I wasn't sure what the wording was telling me.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second reading, please.
Second reading Bill Number 5802 by title only, an ordinance granting approval of a site development plan and conditional use permit for a personal training business property numbered 8615 Manchester Road, which permits under the provisions of Chapter 25 of the Brentwood City Code the development of that site, providing the conditions of such development and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay.
Motion, Your Honor, to perfect 5802 into ordinance form, please.
And second?
Second.
We got a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5802 is now ordinance number 4467.
Okay, thank you. First reading, bill number 5803, please.
Bill number 5803 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute an agreement on behalf of the city of Brentwood, Missouri with Lawler Corporation, construction of the Memorial Inline Skating Rink Improvement Project, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, this was the subject of earlier discussion. Bill 5803, the Memorial Park Inline Rink Project, is for an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator of the city of Brentwood to approve an agreement with Lawler Corporation for the Memorial Park Inline Skating Improvement Project at a total cost of $264,700. The entire service at that location will be concrete instead of asphalt, which is stronger, stable, and would not need to be replaced for an estimated 15 to 20 years. An asphalt service would require replacement every 3 to 5 years. The project will correct known American with Disabilities Act ADA issues, which are service issues accessible for those persons with disabilities. The project also includes replacement of the fence on the north end of the site, and our Public Works Committee has reviewed and recommended approval of Bill 5803.
Okay. Just as a point of clarification, the actual rink itself has actually been a real asset to the Brentwood community since it was installed in the mid-90s. The surface, which is asphalt, has held up really well. The issue really has been the dasher boards around the side. They can't be anchored into the asphalt. When everything we've tried over the years, when the weather gets hot and asphalt expands and contracts and gets soft. With the amount of use that gets down there, it was always an issue with, not only participants hitting the boards, but also wind in a couple of occasions had pulled those out. So by using the concrete as the base, it'll let them anchor those dasher boards in place and have a better guarantee from what we had in the past. But it's been a great facility and well-maintained even by our Public Works during this time with the issues that it has had. So this is a great investment. So.
Pat, have we ever had any really serious injuries there? I've never.
I'm sure we've had injuries. I don't know that we've had any serious injuries there. But it gets used by
a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people during the middle of the day. People from Hanley Industrial Court use it. Weekends, there's somebody there almost all day long. So it really has been. It was our answer to a skate park about 20 years ago. So, Alderwoman Saunders.
When this was at Public Works, we voted to move it forward, but Alderman Leahy voted no. And afterwards, he said that we would have to go out to bid it again. So I didn't quite understand. Your argument wasn't brought until after we voted, so if you could explain. And then I just want to make sure that with Attorney Albrecht that it's done in accordance with our ordinances.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You voted no, and I asked at the end why, and you said you'd bid it out again.
That answer doesn't answer the question of why I bid no. It was my action. I suggest that this bill go back out for rebid. As I explained in the Public Works meeting,
okay,
there were changes to the scope of work that I think by rebidding it, you may come back in with more sharpened pencils and possibly bring the cost down. Versus the way it was presented to Public Works is we're looking to hire the contractor and then look to negotiate some cost savings and maybe incorporate some of the work being done by the Public Works Department on the landscaping issues after the concrete and everything's poured. Well, that all adds to the overall cost to work with. Since I'm looking at wanting to work it through and have everybody hopefully sharpen their pencil, I suggest to the board that this project go back out for full competitive bid with the scope of work defined clearly for everybody to bid the same apples and apples.
Right. Just a point of clarification, I think that they did bid apples to apples on this. This was actually the second time this project was put out to bid because the first go around, some suggestions from some of the professionals in the field suggested that there was a better way to do this that would be a more spending the city's funds more wisely, and so it was put out to bid under these new specifications. So, but I mean that's just a comment. It's here now, and we can.
And Frank, do you feel that it was done in accordance with our ordinances?
I actually spoke with Mr. Grunfelder very early on this process. The city's free to accept or reject any bid it receives. And in fact, this bid went out on specific engineered specifications.
Okay.
With everybody having a fair opportunity to bid on it.
Not claiming that there's any unfair.
No, I agree.
I'm claiming that we still have some scope of work issues that we're changing and that we potentially look to negotiate with the successful bidder for some cost concessions. I think we would define where those areas are and put it back out for bid with those issues in there may yield a better competitive bid versus being the weaker party at the negotiation time.
I was looking for you, didn't see you sitting back there, sorry.
I was hiding.
You can speak to it better than I can.
Yeah,
so.
the idea is when it came to Public Works, it was the idea is that the project is a tad over budget. And so I recognized that and wanted to provide options. A couple of those options were, yes, we could have Public Works excavate the 10 inches of material to bring it down to ADA. Now there's some inherent dangers with that because now you have our city doing part of the project and the contractor then completing the project. And when you do something like that, and if there's a mistake, who then makes a mistake?
Yep.
I gave it as a suggestion. As you saw in my memo to the board, I took that suggestion out. The only thing that we would be talking about with the contractor is honestly is the mistake with the specification with the gray and the white cement on the sidewalks. That will be a cost saving. That is something the engineer, architect said we should change, and that is in our bid document something that we can do legally.
Mhm.
And it will save us somewhere, I mean, we can't, without talking to the contractor, about $10,000 to $15,000. But the way it's written, with the scope of the project, I think it's a very tight
It's
and
pretty
important
tight,
project,
right?
yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Eric, don't leave. I have another question. Your Honor, if I could.
Sure, Alderman Kramer.
Eric, I enjoy our trails and our paths in our city quite a lot. I think we're fortunate to have them, which are asphalt. I'm not a roller person. This is with a bicycle.
Sure.
I'm not familiar with the difference in the smoothness or the rollability of the concrete versus the asphalt. Can they smooth the concrete? And is this a special type of application?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different sort of application than normal. I mean, you can actually rough up some different, in fact, on the outside of the surface, they will rough it up a little to help people who are walking. It will be smoother in the playing surface, yes, to help the playability. On the asphalt, what was done is they actually added a street ice playing surface on top of the asphalt to help the playing surface previously.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5803 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute an agreement on behalf of the city of Brentwood, Missouri with Lawler Corporation Construction of the Memorial Inline Skating Rink Improvement Project and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Do a motion, please?
So moved, Your Honor.
And second?
Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Robertson, second by Alderman Toohey. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Toohey.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
No.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5803 is now ordinance number 4468.
Thank you. Just for information, Lawler Corporation, who is a successful bidder on this project, who was a low bidder, I'm happy to say is a longtime Brentwood contractor, and actually was a contractor that built our ice rink some 30-plus years ago. So, but it's great that they were able to get this bid, so thank you. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I think some of their employees have used it over the years. So, first reading of Bill number 5804, please.
First reading, Bill number 5804 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute a billing services agreement between EMS Management and Consultants and the city of Brentwood, Missouri, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay, synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The synopsis is a little similar with some detail for Bill 5804, the Ambulance Billing and Collection Services Ordinance. If passed, this bill is covering the ordinance authorizing our mayor or city administrator to execute, enter into a billing services agreement between EMS Management and Consultants and our city. EMS Management and Consultants will provide the city of Brentwood with a comprehensive package of billing, collection, follow-up, account posting, accounts receivable, reconciliation, financial accounting, receipts management, and reporting services. That will also include the ability to pay by credit card at their website. EMS MC will retain 7.25% of the net funds collected. Our Public Safety Committee has reviewed and recommended approval of this bill.
Okay. Any questions?
I think we've already discussed it.
Second reading.
Second reading, Bill number 5804 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute a billing services agreement between EMS Management and Consultants and the city of Brentwood, Missouri, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion.
I'll second it.
We have first and second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Toohey.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5804 is now ordinance number 4469.
First reading of Bill number 5805, please.
First reading, Bill number 5805 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute a subscription agreement between ESO Solutions, Inc. and the city of Brentwood, Missouri, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Bill 5805 for ambulance billing and collection software. This bill is for an ordinance authorizing our mayor and/or city administrator for the city of Brentwood to enter into and execute a subscription agreement between ESO Solutions Incorporated and the city of Brentwood. The subscription includes a software package as part of the proposal. ESO Solutions software is fully integrated with EMS MC billing and will provide validated, secure patient reporting, improved call review accountability, and improved quality management, all in a complete turnkey package. The $12,225 cost of the ESO Solutions software, along with all licensing fees, is included in the 7.25% fee with no out-of-pocket expenses for the city of Brentwood. Yay. The ESO software has an ongoing annual cost of $2,495, which covers updates and technical issues. Our Public Safety Committee has recommended approval of Bill 5805.
Okay. Any questions?
So moved.
We need a second reading.
Second reading, bill number 5805 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute a subscription agreement between ESO Solutions, Inc. and the city of Brentwood, Missouri, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Now, motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second, Your Honor.
We have first and second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Thank you. Next
Bill-
item? Oh, I'm
Bill
sorry.
number 5805 is now ordinance number 4470.
Next item, item 10, accounts against the city. Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor, we have a warrant list before you. The amount of $199,699.83. And I'd like to make a motion for approval of same.
And second?
I'll second, Your Honor.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, reports of committee and department heads. Under the mayor's report, I have a couple quick items. First of all, tomorrow at, is it 6 or 6:30?
6:30. Oh, which one?
Uh,
6. There's one at 6.
6, the state audit.
6.
Okay. The state auditor will be at the rec center to update the community on the 90-day report on the progress of the city. I would invite everybody to attend. We also will have a shred day, city-sponsored shred day on November the 2nd, Saturday, November the 2nd. That'll be down at Hanley Industrial Court at Shred and Protect. You can bring all of your personal documents you want shredded down to Shred and Protect and dispose of those in a safe manner. Also, just so everyone knows, the server for our TV system went out this evening, so currently the shows will not be on cable or cable and Uverse, but we'll still be on YouTube, and as soon as we can get the new server bid out and replaced, they'll be back up and running. Two notes, I'd like to wish Lee a happy birthday on the 25th of this month.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
And also, and then Steve, the police chief, is sitting out in the hallway. It's his birthday today, so you can say happy birthday to the chief. So, he's out there whimpering, actually. Okay. That's all I have under the mayor's report. Public Safety Committee.
No report.
Public Works Committee.
No report, Your Honor.
Director of Planning, do you have anything further? Thank you. Ways and Means Committee.
Yes, Your Honor, we have a budget meeting mañana, aquí, right here, 6:30.
Tomorrow.
See, tomorrow.
See, senor.
Thank you. All right,
I have a
City
question.
Attorney.
No report, Your Honor.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
with Ways and Means. So will we actually get into the budget, or is that just going to be an overview tomorrow?
No,
We're
we'll
going to
get into
actually
it.
get in. Okay, so then this is where we're going to need that current data for the benefits and that to compare with the other cities. If we could update that data so that we have that when we go in to do the
There will
budget
be a handout for you tomorrow.
planning. Okay, great.
Okay. City Clerk Administrator, anything
No
further?
report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Excise Commissioner, not present this evening. Library.
No report.
Municipal League, just so everybody knows, the Municipal League has moved. They're now in the U Club Tower. They had to vacate the building over in Clayton because that's going to be demolished for the new Justice Courts building. So if anybody needs to contact the Municipal League, they're actually in the University Club Tower, I believe, on the 4th floor now. Historical Society?
No report.
No closed session tonight. Any unfinished business?
Could I make a comment?
Yes.
I just want to make a little comment, but 1977, I became an alderman in the city of Brentwood and stayed for 2 terms. 1995, I was asked to go back on the board early and been on the board since. I know I've made a lot of mistakes, and I know that. I hope I've done some good things, but I'll tell you, serving Brentwood for 33 years as a school teacher and 23 years now as an alderman, and my wife serving the school district as a school nurse, has been one of the most joyous things you could want. It's a wonderful town. When we get down on each other, don't stay down. It's too good a town to be down very long. And I really appreciate all the good folks and the wonderful people that live here. And I get kids now that I taught way back. I even taught Bob Niemeyer. I just wanted to say thanks to all the people in Brentwood for all the good things they've done for my family and myself.
Well, it's greatly appreciated, and you've done an outstanding job. We appreciate it, too. Thank you.
Your Honor,
Alderman Kramer.
if I could, if Robin is still here, I've got a question for you. If you could come on down.
Are we unfinished?
Yeah, we're not finished.
Okay.
We haven't had the benefit of what, it's certainly enjoyable for you to be here, but we haven't had the benefit of you to ask the question. The topic came up, I don't know, probably some time ago about the board approval of the tablets for our use here in City Hall. Since that approval in the budget, we have had legislation passed which apparently allows, under emergency situations, attendance at certain meetings with tablets or with some sort of a video device. I don't know if you've researched that aspect, but do you have an update on the tablets?
Yes, we do. We administered the survey, and the majority of the Board of Aldermen do not want the tablets.
Okay, that's interesting.
And the policy on being able to use Skype or other types of electronic processes in order to attend meetings is really a policy decision that can be done, I think, at this point. I think there's still some adjustments being made at the state level.
Correct.
But once that's formally approved, then that's a policy decision that will have to be made at the board level. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So we're not going to do the tablets because?
I just don't know what the next steps are,
It's
because it would be productive if we could roll it out to the entire board than to selectively roll it out to 1 or 2 people. It doesn't really become as useful as we would like it to be.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
just don't like technology, I guess.
I'd love it.
very
I mean, look at the documents I bring to the meeting.
But I think, Mayor, one thing, I was here when they first got the laptops, and I was one that was all for the laptops. And you have to be careful, because just a few years later, they were all gone, and something else was out there. So I think it makes you a little hesitant to buy things if it doesn't have a long life.
Okay.
It was budgeted, though.
Any other, Alderman Leahy?
No, new business.
Any new business?
Please, Your Honor.
Well, I didn't ask to have this put on, the establishment of an audit committee. I think that was Alderman Kramer that asked for that be put under new business.
Actually, this came from this was a review from the Ways and Means Committee that was forwarded from them to be entertained by the board. So it was a recommendation from the Ways and Means Committee. There's no synopsis here, but that's what happened.
Should we wait for a full board to discuss the audit?
I would ask to wait, and I would also like to have a review, because I don't know what the Ways and Means Commission came up with, or committee came up with.
This is what we came up with.
Okay, but I mean, I think we need just time to review that than being in the packets. So. Okay?
It's fine.
Okay. Any other new business? Alderman Leahy?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ward 3 community meeting is Tuesday night, October the 29th, 7 p.m. up here in the council chamber. All are invited.
If anybody would like to address the board, please come forward and give us your name and address.
stebbing and 26 quarter, and I'm just unclear as to what the next steps were going to be, because there was so much back and forth going on about the watering bowl. So if you could clarify that, so I don't have to wait another 2 weeks to find out what's going to happen and listen to dogs barking for the next 2 weeks every day. Thank you.
Karen Smith Harrison. Question on the compensation survey. So I thought I remembered hearing in an earlier meeting that one of the benefits to having the compensation survey is that there would be an initial upfront cost to having that produced because we hadn't had one done in a while. But that once that was done, then every year we could get updates for a very minimal cost, so that that way it would be a dynamic document because, you know, positions change both in Brentwood and outside of Brentwood. And it would have been helpful to have something that was updated every year, because the one that you all are going to be working from is from 2011, so that's already 2 years old, and you know, probably at best would always be a year behind, but you know, to be able to keep that updated would have been a real benefit. And another thing in regard to those compensation surveys, do they look at, like, for various positions, like, are there ever recommendations for, like, what are the criteria that you want to have in that position so that we can make sure that we have qualified people in our positions? Thank you. So by criteria, I mean, like, do they need to be credentialed, have certain degrees, so that we can make sure that we have qualified people in all of our positions? Thank you.
Okay, we'll close comment. I would think we actually, for most of our management positions, we do have very specific qualification requirements and guidelines that are put out when those jobs are advertised. Again, trying to keep in line with what our neighboring communities are doing as well. You know, again, this may just be my opinion, but you know, to have a compensation survey that you're going to update every year would be kind of monotonous. I don't think any one municipality or any organization is going to change your salary structures that much in any given year. It's a guideline. It's a basis point. Again, maybe the information we have right now is 2011. You know, if the board is looking for something as a document to say, well, this is why we need to make a change, that's one thing. You know, if we have that information now, and that we could update ourselves. So nobody still has said what information is not in there that they're looking for with respect to the salaries. With respect to the dogs barking, I think what the direction to staff is to research the conditional use permit that was authorized. I had already asked staff to look back at the Board of Alderman meeting when that conditional use permit was, this is kind of an addition, when that was submitted so that we can get the comments that were made by the applicant at the time. And then we're going to bring that information back to the Board of Aldermen in our next meeting. So, okay. Any other questions? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And second?
Second, Your Honor.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are
Julie.
adjourned.